Here is the news of the hour. A plane has just landed at the airport in Taipei, and that plane you can see clearly above the white paint, United States of America, in big, broad, bold letters. The Speaker of the House now has landed in Taipei, Taiwan, where it is 10:45 in the evening. They are exactly 12 hours, Sandra, ahead of us here in New York at the moment, 10:45 in the evening there, Smitty.
And it's remarkable to think that this stop was never officially announced by her office. We are getting some word from the Pentagon, per a spokesperson there, when asked by Fox News, that the USS Ronald Reagan aircraft carrier is operating in the Philippine Sea east of Taiwan, along with guided missile cruiser, a destroyer, Higgins. The spokesperson emphasized these are routine and normal deployments and locations there. But this, we are told, is the plane. You can see the American flag there on the tail. When asked if Pelosi's military aircraft is accompanied by U.S. military planes bill, the Pentagon gave this statement. We never talk about security details for unconfirmed or confirmed travel. We, of course, will take all appropriate measures to ensure the safety of members of Congress wherever and whenever they choose to travel.
So as we watch this, Sandra, we ask the question, how long will she stay there, and what will the Chinese do while she is there and after she leaves that Taipei? Dan Hoffman's back with us. Dan, come back in the conversation. There was one report a moment ago, it was translated from German, that Chinese Su-35 fighter aircraft said to be flying across the Taiwan Strait. Wouldn't it be the first time they did it, but let's just get your general reaction if all this indeed is confirmed in time.
Yeah, I mean, Chinese aircraft have been flying combat missions at a really heightened rate over this past year. I would just, emphasize that it's good to see that plane land in Taiwan. We should never allow China to exercise any sort of command and control over U.S. senior officials and their travel overseas. Had we done that, that would have been a gross example of appeasement, which is never good when you're dealing with a dictatorship. And again, I think right now there's no question our intelligence community, working closely with our allies in the region, on very high alert right now to track whatever threats might be out there emanating from Chinese military as well as their intelligence services.
All right, 10:47 p.m. on the ground there. Dan, as you said earlier when you were talking to us, you said both China and the United States have sort of backed themselves into corners here. We know that China, just ahead of her official visit there, as she lands on the ground there, threatens serious military consequences. So how do you fathom they respond now that she has touched down? Couldn't you envision them doing nothing?
Yeah, I mean, that's, they kind of wrote a check that we'll see whether their military is going to cash it. Will their rhetoric, this bombastic, very dangerous, menacing rhetoric, potentially match some military action they might take? They threatened the United States that such a visit would be playing with fire. If China does absolutely nothing, then that would risk some damage to their credibility, which would be good for us. But this sort of an interaction between two superpowers, not good, and really risks great miscalculations, especially dangerous when we have the Speaker of the House in Taipei right now. So again, I think that we're probably seeing some back-channel discussions between the United States and the Chinese. If nothing occurs, nothing untoward from the Chinese side, you may see some dialogue, open dialogue, and some commentary from the United States appreciating Chinese restraint, perhaps. But this is a tenuous time right now, and it's certainly, with Speaker of the House Pelosi potentially staying overnight in Taipei, there's a number of hours for us to be tracking this.
Michael Pillsbury joins our conversation, too. Michael, thanks for coming back here. Just to draft off of Dan Hoffman's answer there, how much of this do you believe is propaganda versus how much of it is a legitimate threat out of Beijing?
Well, I like Dan's emphasis on intelligence collection while Nancy Pelosi is in Taiwan. I think this is much more of a real threat than propaganda. The background, of course, is Xi Jinping wants a third term, another 5-year term, to go against the old tradition that Deng Xiaoping started, that you only served 10 years, that's it, you're out. So anything like a crisis and a need to respond to the Americans and start a series, maybe even a month or two of harassment of Taiwan, all that feeds into Xi Jinping's argument that you need me for 5 more years. He's 70 years old, roughly, so that's age 75. I see this in terms of how Americans perceive China as a second issue. We still have a lot of Americans, I'd say as many as a third, including in the Congress, in the executive branch, who basically still love China. They have wishful thinking, they have fond hopes. U.S. and China can kind of rule the world together, fight climate change. So when this kind of military crisis begins to emerge, it puts pressure on what the Chinese call the friends of China in Washington, D.C., or those who work for China, sometimes they say in Washington, D.C. Puts pressure on them. How can you continue our $1 trillion of investment in Chinese companies? How can you support exchange programs with the Chinese military? It questions all these things, and there's a lot of legislation bill in the Congress now that Nancy Pelosi has spurned. She has not worked with the Republicans. I think when she comes home from this trip, she may be more bipartisan in her approach toward China policy for the long term. That's my wish. Something good will come out of this crisis.
Interesting analysis, Dan. As we see some deboarding the plane there, there has been mixed messaging from the White House. We all watched the John Kirby press briefing from the White House yesterday in the briefing room ahead of this trip, not confirming the trip, but ensuring her safe travel should she, at her call, decide to make this trip. And at one point, John Kirby asking the question, what's the drama? After you, to your point, we heard this menacing rhetoric coming from China ahead of the Speaker of the House's visit to Taiwan. Michael, you can take that.
Well, it's a dangerous situation when the Speaker of the House and the White House don't seem to be on the same page. I was very impressed when John Kirby admitted yesterday that Biden and Nancy Pelosi have not spoken about this trip. I mean, this is historic, and it's dangerous, and it's important. How could they not have discussed this? The answer, I think, is they don't agree. Nancy Pelosi has a long history of concern about human rights, the Dalai Lama. She's very skeptical about China.
I think we're seeing the Speaker coming off the plane now.
Let's take a look. Let's hope this is the new bipartisan Nancy Pelosi when she gets home.